He left me for my best friend because he thought I had no education. "I'm giving it all up for you, Daniel," I said, my voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The acceptance letter to Stanford's master's program in computer science lay crumpled in my hand. A dream I had nurtured since childhood, now sacrificed at the altar of love. Daniel, my fiancé, looked at me with a mix of adoration and concern. "Are you sure about this, Sarah? This is a huge opportunity." "I am," I replied, forcing a smile. "I can always go back to school later. Right now, being with you, building our life together, is more important." I was blinded by love, convinced that nothing else mattered as long as I had Daniel by my side. He was charming, ambitious, and made me feel like the most special woman in the world. He had his own startup, a promising tech venture, and he needed me, or so he said, to support him. My best friend Emily had always been skeptical of Daniel. "He's using you, Sarah," she'd warned me. "He knows you're smart, but he pretends to be the intellectual one. You're selling yourself short." But I brushed off her concerns, convinced that Emily was just jealous of my happiness. After all, Daniel was the perfect man, and I was incredibly lucky to have him. The first few years of our marriage were blissful. I played the role of the supportive wife, managing our household, entertaining clients, and helping Daniel with his business. I put my own aspirations on hold, convincing myself that I was contributing in my own way. But slowly, subtly, things began to change. Daniel became increasingly distant, spending long hours at the office, often not coming home until late at night. He stopped asking about my interests, my dreams, my life. I tried to talk to him, to reconnect, but he always brushed me off, saying he was stressed, that the business was demanding. I started to feel like a ghost in my own home, invisible and unappreciated. Emily, bless her heart, tried to be there for me. "I told you so," she said gently, offering a comforting hug. "But it's not too late, Sarah. You can still go back to school, pursue your own goals." "It's not that simple, Em," I replied, tears welling up in my eyes. "I've invested so much in Daniel, in our life together. I don't want to give up now." One evening, I came home early from a volunteer event, hoping to surprise Daniel with a home-cooked meal. As I opened the door, I heard voices coming from the bedroom. My heart pounded in my chest as I crept closer, a sickening feeling rising in my throat. The voices grew louder, more intimate. And then I heard Daniel's voice, followed by a familiar giggle. I pushed the door open, and the scene before me shattered my world. Daniel was in bed with Emily, tangled in the sheets, their faces flushed with guilt and shame. "Sarah," Daniel stammered, his face paling. Emily burst into tears, burying her face in her hands. I stood there, frozen, unable to speak, unable to move. The weight of their betrayal crashed down on me, suffocating me with pain and disbelief. Without a word, I turned and fled, running blindly into the night. The truth came out in the days that followed. Daniel had been having an affair with Emily for months. He had confided in her, shared his fears and insecurities, and she had offered him the support and validation he craved. He told me, with a chilling lack of remorse, that he had always seen me as less intelligent, less ambitious than him. He had thought I was content to be a housewife, a pretty face with no real aspirations. I needed someone who understood my vision, someone who could challenge me intellectually, he said, his voice cold and dismissive. "You just weren't that person, Sarah." The knife twisted deeper. He had not only betrayed my trust, but he had also belittled my intelligence, dismissing my dreams as insignificant. He had used me, manipulated me, and then discarded me when he found someone better. Emily, consumed with guilt, begged for my forgiveness. "I never meant for this to happen, Sarah," she sobbed. "I was weak, and I made a terrible mistake." But I couldn't forgive her. She had betrayed our friendship, violated my trust, and stolen the man I loved. The divorce was messy and painful. Daniel fought me every step of the way, trying to minimize my share of the assets. But I was determined to get what I deserved, to reclaim my life and my dignity. With the help of a shrewd lawyer, I secured a fair settlement. I sold the house we had shared, packed my bags, and left town, determined to start over. I reconnected with my old professors, explained my situation, and asked for their advice. They were incredibly supportive, encouraging me to reapply to the master's program. This time, I was accepted with open arms. I threw myself into my studies with a passion I had never known before, fueled by a burning desire to prove Daniel wrong, to show him what I was truly capable of. Years passed, filled with hard work, late nights, and countless challenges. But I persevered, driven by my newfound purpose and my unwavering determination. I excelled in my studies, impressing my professors and earning the respect of my peers. I rediscovered my love for computer science, the intellectual stimulation that had been dormant for so long. Finally, the day arrived when I walked across the stage, received my master's degree in computer science, and looked out at the cheering crowd. I felt a sense of accomplishment, of pride that I had never experienced before. I had done it. I had overcome the betrayal, the heartbreak, and the self-doubt. I had reclaimed my life, my dreams, and my future. A few years later, I was attending a tech conference in San Francisco, showcasing my innovative new software. As I stood at my booth, surrounded by potential investors and eager customers, I noticed a familiar figure approaching. It was Daniel, looking older, more tired, and, well, less impressive than I remembered. He was with Emily, who looked equally worn down. "Sarah," he said, his voice hesitant, "it's been a long time." I nodded curtly, trying to hide my surprise and discomfort. "I just wanted to say, congratulations," he continued, gesturing towards my booth. "I heard about your success. I'm impressed." I raised an eyebrow, my expression cool and detached. "I made a mistake, Sarah," he said, his voice filled with regret. "Leaving you, underestimating you. It was the biggest mistake of my life." Emily looked away, her face etched with pain. I stared at Daniel, my heart strangely unmoved. His words held no power over me anymore. I had moved on, built a new life, and become the person I was always meant to be. "I appreciate the sentiment, Daniel," I said, my voice calm and composed. "But I'm not the same person you knew, and frankly, I'm grateful for what happened. It forced me to discover my own strength, my own potential. So thank you for setting me free." I turned away, leaving Daniel and Emily standing there, their faces filled with regret and remorse. I had finally found my peace, my happiness, and my success. And I knew with absolute certainty that I was exactly where I was meant to be. I walked away from the conference, feeling a sense of closure I hadn't realized I needed. I had forgiven myself for the choices I had made, for the dreams I had sacrificed. And I had proven to myself and to the world that I was capable of anything I set my mind to. My past no longer defined me. It had simply shaped me into the strong, independent, and successful woman I am today.